All right. Thank you, Michelle, for the beautiful countdown of doom. You know, if you add of doom at the end of everything, it sounds really kind of... Okay, anyway, enough of that. So today we are going to my favorite book of the Bible. It is Ecclesiastes. It's a book of the Bible that not a lot of people have as their favorite. They're all good. It's not like I should pick a favorite because they are all God's Word. But Ecclesiastes really, through the years, I've enjoyed quite a bit. It's the wisest man who ever lived, Solomon. It's the end of his life, and he's reminiscing and looking back on everything he did, everything he accomplished, everything he tried, and he gives kind of a summary. It's a really important thing when you're learning from an older person. The nearer they get to a deathbed experience, a lot of wisdom comes out, and I love that we're getting to hear Solomon kind of sum things up for us. The section we're going to is Ecclesiastes chapter 3, and even many non-church people know this section of the Bible. All right, Ecclesiastes chapter 3. If you know anything about music, you got to know the specific thing about music. I guess not anything, but if you know about music, you will have a song in history by The Byrds, Byrds. And that song, it has many of the verses of the section of Ecclesiastes we're going to read. Okay, so if as I'm reading them, you hear a certain tempo come out of me, it's because I can't help it, because when I read it, I hear the song in my head. But it's an amazing thing that a secular band sings a song about having, there's purpose under heaven and all this stuff, okay? So you can always look those lyrics up yourself, but many of them are going to be here. The reason I'm going to this section, though, does correlate to the fact that it is the first broken and remade of a new year. All right, we just had New Year's Eve, we had New Year's Day. I don't know if you do anything special for that. I did some really dumb things for that, and not the dumb things I used to do, but I somehow volunteered to do an all-nighter with the teens of this church. And by all-nighter, I mean all night and most of the morning. It wasn't even an all-nighter. For me, it's like, okay, all-nighter's done at 7 a.m. No, we're going to go till noon. Luckily for us, that ended a little earlier than noon. But sat up all night, as long as I could. I did crash at some point. I don't remember exactly what time because I was no longer coherent. So I finally dropped on a couch and fell asleep, but we had fun. It was a good time. But that was the day before New Year's Eve. And so then New Year's Eve comes and we're going to a house of a friend's. And of course we have to stay up till midnight and watch the ball drop and, do the little noise makers and things. And we did that. Not real good at my age now, I'm learning. Like when I was 20, out with the friends and the boys, it was like, no big deal. Now, like in the 40s, I'm kind of like, oh, it's a bigger deal. And I know there's some that are older than that in here that are going to look at me and go, oh, you're still young. But still, in the 40s, it still is a little different than the 20s, okay? So I did feel it a little bit more intensely. But maybe you did something exciting, all right? It's an exciting time. It's a fun time. There's a celebration. I know in New York City, many people camp out for hours and hours and hours waiting for this exciting ball that just is sitting up there all lit up to just fall down. I guess that, what weird traditions we come up with as people, isn't it? It's like, oh, the exciting ball is going to just go down this pole and yay, Happy New Year and all the ticker tape stuff and all the little flying paper goes around and people are singing and dancing and kissing and everything else, right? And I did kiss my wife. It was my first kiss of the year. Thank you, my darling. I was very happy for that. She's such a good kisser. Sorry. Woo! I got a little into that. So, listen, you're in my top 5. So, the look I just got, internet. She's number 1. She's the only one. The only one. Okay. Oh, okay. Man, the looks I'm getting. Okay. So, I know. Yay, ADHD boy teaching a lesson. Yeah, squirrels everywhere right now. They're running around, all in like hats, celebrating New Year's. Okay, anyway. So kisses and excitement, and there's music playing, and the night is just a wonderful night. And what do we get so excited about? You know, I think part of the excitement is the restart, right? The restart. Like, here we go. It's fresh. Even though it's another day. I mean, some of us know that, and we just wake up and, well, it's just another day, right? But still, there's something to new, fresh starts. You know, just something to look at as a starting point. Like, okay, here we go. You know, you hear about New Year's resolutions, right? That's a big thing for some. I got to lose some weight. I'm going to start now. You know, it's just a nice little point in time that we can reference as the first day of something, all right? Now, we also during this time can look back at our year we had. A lot of TV programs will do that. You flip on some of the channels and they'll be like the year in review, right? They'll do celebrity news of the year or music from the year or exciting events and moments throughout the year and all kinds of cool things like that, right? And so it's a time to reflect. So you're excited for something new, but you're also looking back on what passed. Now, for all of us, we have an opinion of how the last year went. For some of us, it was a really good year. Okay? For others of us, man, this was one of the hardest years I think I've ever had. I've had those. Have you had those through the years? Like you look back at New Year's and you're thinking, please, not another year like this. Or you think, boy, let's keep it going. That was awesome. Another year like this would be great. You know, it's what made it good, like, or bad. You look back in the past and maybe some bad things happened. Maybe you lost somebody you loved, or maybe some stuff happened in sickness in your body or something, or maybe something exciting happened. I got a new job. I got a raise. I'm married now. Something happened that gave you excitement. So there's a lot of different ways these years can go. Now this next year, I want to be able to stand up here and tell you, here's how I'm going to guarantee you the best year of your life. I am going to tell you all the secrets and the paths to take. It starts out fresh. So I'm going to give you everything you need to know this year to have the best year of your entire life. I'd love to be able to say that to you. But you know what? You know how much power I have over your year to come? Do you know how much power over the year to come you have? Not very much. Because we might have visions, we might have goals, we might have dreams, we might have things we're thinking, but if you're like me, the pattern in your life is that many goals and dreams do get fulfilled, but an awful lot of them kind of fall away. They just don't happen, or something happens to stumble me, to stop me from what I wanted to do. Now, maybe I won't categorize it as a horrible year, but I didn't accomplish everything I wanted to. It's very seldom that we're going to have anybody say, I did every single thing I planned on, I did everything the way I wanted to do it, and everything fell right in place. There is hardly a person you will find that feels that way. Even the most successful people in the world. Thinking everything I ever did this year was perfect. Exactly how I wanted it to be. Stress-free year, nothing happened bad. It was wonderful, right? Well, I want to learn from that person. Okay, what do I do then? What do I do? How can I give you some tools to guarantee yourself a wonderful year? I can't. I can't. You can't. And in society today, all right, we're in a society that is doing a very good job of convincing people you can do whatever you want. If you set your heart on it and you put enough effort into it, you can accomplish anything you want. That is a blatant lie. You can be good enough that God will give you all the blessings that you deserve. That's a lie. If I do a lot of bad things, I'm going to have all kinds of bad things happen to me. You know what? That's also a lie. You ever notice sometimes in life, some very, very bad people get an awful lot of things they don't deserve, and you don't know why? Why did they get that? They're a horrible person. Why have they accomplished that? They don't live how they're supposed to. I've done everything I can to do things exactly the way I'm supposed to, but nothing is going my way. This just all seems unfair, confusing. I want, during this time of year, to be able to give you the tools to have the best year possible. But I can't, because there are no guarantees of that. There are no guarantees of that. What we have to do, though, is focus our minds in a way that we focus on the most important things in life that we can control. Because bad things may come, good things may come, but all those things are circumstantial. You can't guarantee them to work out the way you want them to, but we try. It's a human trait. It's why we're setting our resolutions. It's why we're thinking about this new year, what I'm going to accomplish, how I'm going to live my life. We do that, and that's good. We do that, all right? Where there is no vision, the people perish, okay? You have to have a vision. You have to set some goals. But in this section of the Bible that many of us have heard, like I said, it's a song, and you hear the words over and over again. We're going to really concentrate on the words. Sometimes when you hear words over and over again, they kind of dull down the meaning of them because you just hear them and you're just kind of like, oh, yeah. Everything good happens, bad happens. You're going to see that when we read this. But listen carefully to the meaning behind this and the focus that we're going to try to keep in our lives no matter what good or bad is happening. Because both can happen. You can't guarantee everyone you know and love will stay alive this year. You cannot guarantee that. You cannot guarantee that everyone you care about isn't going to move away or have something happen that takes them away from you. You can't do that. And if we set all our happiness, all our joy, all our excitement on those things, when they go away and the rug slipped out from under us, we fall down and are confused, depressed, anxious, upset, and we want to give up because here we go again. You're on the treadmill of disappointment that all of us too often live on. What's next? What's going to happen next? I know something bad's going to... There it is. Something bad happened. Oh, here comes a good thing. I'm only going to enjoy it this much because if I enjoy this too long, I know it's going to be taken from me. My mind does that. Root of bitterness starts growing in my heart because of the things that happen in our lives. Bad things happen. And over time in our lives, as these bad things happen, we're cut over and over and over again, and the scars get bigger and bigger and bigger. And our sensitivities, I talked about this with my friend just this last week. He and I both have this situation where so many times I've been disappointed because my expectations, my dreams, my hopes didn't come true, that over time, what is dulled down is the connection between my brain and my heart. Like, I can think things, like I know what I should do, but I no longer care. It's like a cord got cut between my brain and my heart. I don't feel like I used to feel. And that happens a lot with a lot of us as we age. You've heard the stories of the bitter old man, right? Remember the movie Grumpy Old Men? Do you remember that? I loved that movie. Walter Matthau, and who was the other one with Walter Matthau? I don't remember his name. I feel bad for him because Walter Matthau is the one you are. What was it?
Is it James Gardner?
Maybe James Gardner? I don't know. Maybe not. We'll look it up. You're on the internet out there. You look it up. But anyway, So this movie, I loved it, but did you notice that grumpy old men, that's kind of this idea. What is it?
Jack Lemmon.
Jack Lemmon. There you go. We got to give him credit. I mean, come on. Jack Lemmon did a great job in that movie, just as Walter Matthau did, all right? It was such a fun movie. You hear about that. You know, you think of the old grumpy men. These kids nowadays. Blah. It's not like it was back in my day.
Back in my day, things worked the way they were supposed to.
You know, I had to pull that out. Sorry. I had to do it. But you know, what does that to us? Why do so many people, as they age, start to get that bitter outlook on life? It's because all these bad things just cut and cut and cut, and expectations fall short, so you start to expect nothing. You don't expect anything good. You start thinking, you know what? It's just going to get worse. And as you look around at the world, how many of us say, look how much worse it is now than it's ever been before, right? Isn't that what us older people say? Well, I remember a day I wasn't there, but I've been taught about a day in the 1800s when one of the ways us Americans dealt with issues was take each other to the street and shoot a gun at each other. I mean, Hamilton's a pretty important, fun little Broadway play right now. This is like the vice president of the United States and someone who ran for, what did they do? I'm going to go to the street and I'm going to shoot a gun at you and we're going to settle our dispute. Well, I mean, has it gotten better? I don't know if it has. We hear about the Wild West and cowboys and this and I don't know if it's gotten any worse. We just hear about it a lot faster because we're all connected and we hear every horror story across this planet all in an instant. It's always been a mess. It's always been a mess. So as we age, though, we get that bitter feeling. And it's a dangerous feeling. And it's one that's attacking all of us, even me, even you. And it's growing. And if we don't rein it in, if we don't just refocus ourselves, we are going to end up bitter, depressed, anxious people. A lot of us are on pills. I don't have to name them in the room, but many of us in here, we have some anxiety medications, depression medication. I do. I go to my cabinet whenever I need them, and this stuff has happened in me now that has caused this. So let's look in the Bible and let's see what God says. So going to Ecclesiastes chapter 3, starting right in verse 1. Again, if you want to hum along when I read some of this, feel free, but we're reading Bible, not singing a song. To everything there is a season, a time for every purpose under heaven. Who sang it? Well, I'm saying who out here just now in their head. No, but good job on the trivia, yes. Okay, there's a time to be born and a time to die. There's a time to plant and a time to pluck what is planted. All right, this is all making sense. When we're born, there is an expectation that we will die. Plain and simple. I don't like that fact. In fact, that fact right there is one of the reasons for our anxiety, for our depression, for our aggravation, for our frustration. It's because we're on a timer. If I had all of eternity, it'd be a whole lot easier not to worry about things, getting to my appointment, making sure I get this done, because I'd have forever. Boy, that'd be a bad world for me in this state because I'm such a procrastinator anyway. I'd be like, oh, okay, honey, you want me to clean the living room? Listen, about 20,000 years from now, I'm going to go ahead and start picking up some things, and it might take me another 30, 35,000 years. Eternity, right? We're not on that kind of a timer. We're on a blink timer. Sorry if that was loud into the mic. A blink timer. Just it's like we're a vapor, it talks about. We're just like a sudden burst on this earth. I mean, think about our lifespan. Our lifespan compared to how this world, the existence of this world, it's such a blip. And we're on a timer and we're in a race and we got to get it done now. I need to find happy now. I've got to be excited now. I need my joy now because I'm running out of time. And as we get older, as that bitterness sets in, we start thinking, well, I don't have very much longer. Get these kids out of my face. I don't have to deal with this. I've put in my time, and it's this shift in mind. But it's all a timer. It says there's a time to kill and a time to heal. There's war. There's peace. I hate that there's war. I wish there wasn't, but there's sometimes a time for it. There's been some wars in our history that have been maybe not necessary, but needed. It's such a weird thing to say, but we wouldn't even be here in our country without the war of the Revolution, right? The Revolutionary War. You think of the Civil War, there would be some people not free because of this. So there's been some fighting, some wars, some things that though I wish we could live peacefully with all men, we've needed them in our history. And it talks about a time to break down and a time to build up. You ever clean house? Have you ever tried to clean? And if you're like me, if you have a big cleaning project, in order to clean, you have to destroy. Like, have you noticed it has to get worse before you can get it better? I hate cleaning. That's why I hate it so much, because you have to clutter in order to declutter. I hate that. Like, I got to make piles in order to clean a section, so I now have a place to put this, and that will help this pile, but then this pile, okay, this stuff has to go over. I'm making a mess everywhere in order to make it. You ever been there? Oh, I hate it so much. And you have to break down and you have to build up. There's different times for these things, and they go in cycles. We reference spring cleaning, right? Well, it's springtime. The birds are singing. The sun is brighter for some reason. It feels like it. And I need to clean, clean my car, detail it, right? So there's a time for that. It feels like it's the season for it. So let's do this, and it's all these cycles. It says, a time to break down and a time to build up. Verse 4, a time to weep and a time to laugh, a time to mourn and a time to dance. I've dealt with a lot of this lately. I've had friends, some real close friends of mine lose family members. One friend that's very dear to me lost his mother just before her birthday, which was just before Christmas. I mean, what on earth? In my brain, how can I fathom that? That's, it's humanly speaking, in my mind, it's just not fair. Just before your birthday, just before Christmas. Many of us have had situations happen just before exciting moments. Some of us have bad memories tied with events. I have on my 21st birthday, a girlfriend of 6 years. She left and it destroyed me. And now every time I have a birthday, there's just a little whisper in my head remembering what's associated with this. It's tough. I had a time to weep, and all of us do. What did I do to cause this? Well, you know what? Sometimes I did nothing, you did nothing. It just came a time when this happened in your life. I'm sorry. I don't want it to have happened. But living on this earth, there are times where things like this do happen. But for every time there is to weep, there's a time to laugh. I've been in some really strange places laughing my head off. Funeral home. Like, have you ever watched families interact during a funeral? This is the best example of this situation. And you see someone's loved one is laying there. Their body, they've left their body, and you're weeping with the family. But have you ever been there when all of a sudden, like off on the side, you'll hear this like breakout of laughter, like just a burst of laughter? What an odd place for it. But you know what? It's beautiful. It's healing. It's exciting, because what they're doing over there is they're sharing a story, or they're talking to each other about something that's just hilarious, and they're building each other up through laughter. But see, in that same exact building, in that same exact place, this is evident that, you know what? I'm weeping, but there's time for laughter too. Like, I mean, it's just. But what makes it a time for mourning and a time for laughter and a time for weeping? Nothing I've done. There's just a time for each that happens in our lives. Do you see how these are the uncontrollables? It just happens. It's a pattern of life. It's our life. And it talks here about a time to mourn and a time to dance, a time to cast away stones and a time to gather stones, a time to embrace and a time to refrain from embracing. Boy, I love that verse. I don't like to hug. Oh, by the way, the guy that just said too bad's the one that forces me to hug him. He's known as the hugger of Riverdale Baptist Church, okay? And he has a good reputation for it. And there's been moments where I thought I was enjoying his hug, and then all of a sudden the bristles hit my cheek, and I'm like, ah, no! I love him. I love Jim. There's a time for it. And you know what? There's come moments where I love Jim's hugs. There's been other times. Man, when I was visiting that church when I first joined, one of the first things that happened, Michelle and I were looking for a church. We walk into Riverdale Baptist Church. And as I walk in, there's a lady at the door. And she's the greeter. I see she has a little tag on. And I'm like, oh, hi, everybody. I'm just visiting. And all of a sudden, she walks over and she's like, hello. Welcome to Riverdale Baptist Church. And she's got her arms wrapped around me. And I went, and I'm like, thank you. And I'm like, and later I said to Michelle, I'm like, I'm not sure if this is the church for us. And do you know why I said it? Preaching was good. But that lady hugged me at the door. I was like, I was actually joking around with one of my favorite little baristas at a certain coffee shop that I go to often in Swartz Creek, Michigan on Elms Road. Squirrel. Trying to get a free coffee right now by advertising. So anyway, but she was talking about there were two girls at a Scrabble board playing. I saw them when we went in for coffees. And later, it was the next day, I think, she was saying that the one girl that was sitting in here the other day, she got up and she asked me if she could hug me because I gave her like something when we were closing. And I was like, no. It was the funniest thing. The girl's like, oh, thank you. And she's like, no, I'm good. So there's a time to embrace and a time to refrain from embracing. Some men need to learn this, by the way. Real quick, serious moment. Okay, men. It's not always okay to just walk up to a woman and grab her and embrace her. You should ask permission. Can I give you a hug? Is this okay? That's something we need to learn as men. And it's something our society needs to learn. We're learning a lot about that right now, about men getting in trouble. It's a very important thing. Respect. And I know people who've been hurt by men who have touched them inappropriately. Okay? That's just a side note. I feel the Holy Spirit wanted me to say that. But there is a time for that, but there's a time not. Okay? And then it says a time to gain. Oh boy. I don't want to talk about this one. Oh, there's a time to gain, which, by the way, I just realized this morning, I'm about 50 pounds higher than I was when I lost all my weight a while ago. So there's a time to gain. And by the way, I noticed the camera angle. I don't like this because, man, does it show there's been a time to gain and a time to lose. A lot of us for New Year's, this is it. Time to lose, right? And then it says a time to keep and a time to throw away. Are we hoarders, some of us? Sometimes there's a time to just throw it away. I love that feeling, by the way, to just throw it away. By the way, when I throw it away, I tend to need it the next day. I hate when that happens to me. I'm like, I haven't touched this in 3 years. When am I going to touch it again? I throw it away and someone's like, where's that one thing? A time to tear and a time to sow. A time to keep silent. My son just went, because he needs to learn this lesson, but he's also thinking I need to learn this lesson as my wife looks at me. There's a time to keep silent and a time to speak. A time to love and a time to hate. Looking at my son again. No, I love him. A time of war and a time of peace. And then it says, verse 9. So what profit has the worker from that in which he labors? So looking at all of this, okay, this stuff, if you've noticed, much of it is out of our hands. Much of it. I mean, of course, we control when we embrace someone, when we this or that. But do you understand the spirit behind this? Is that these are the natural occurrences in life. No matter how good you're doing, no matter how bad you're doing, no matter how much Bible you're reading, no matter how much prayer you're praying, no matter how many church services you're attending, no matter how much donation you're giving, no matter how many charities you're serving, no matter how many songs you're singing, no matter what you're doing on the scale of what I'm doing, these things happen to all of us, no matter where we're at on that scale. You can't outread these things when you study your Bible. You can't outpray these things when you study, or when you live your life. You can't do that because this is natural human life. Job's friends were a horrible example to him. And that's many of the things they made a mistake of. And when God finally breaks it down to Job, he says, "Where were you when I created all of this? Where were you when I laid the foundation? Where were you when I laid the depths of the waters? Where were you? You were nowhere near me." And so Job was questioning a little bit, and his friends especially were like, "Well, you must have done something bad. You must have been a horrible person. You must have failed miserably." Isn't that the lie we hear ourselves tell us or other people tell us? You're not good enough. You're not smart enough. You're not caring enough. You're not giving enough. You're not serving enough. You don't read your Bible enough. You don't pray enough. You. And they think these things are controlled by those circumstances. No. God is like, and we're going to see this in a moment, God is like, listen, worker, servant, person under submission to a great God, what control do we really have over these things? I can't keep all my loved ones alive. I wish I had that power. If you've lost somebody, it's not your fault. Has someone walked out on you? It's not always your fault. But we always think, okay, what did I do? What did I do wrong? I've had these circumstances where I've lost something in my life. And I thought, okay, what did I do wrong? What's wrong with me? But when I look at this, I'm like, wait a minute, this happens to everybody. This happens to everybody. Like everybody deals with a loss in their life at some point, good or bad. Like whether they're a good person, bad, it happens to everybody. The sun comes up on the righteous. The sun comes up on the unrighteous. The rain falls on the righteous. The rain falls on the unrighteous. It's the natural occurrence of life. But what we tend to do to ourselves is we think we've done something wrong, or something is not pleasing to our God, or we're not living up to a standard, so we deserve this. No. Do bad people deserve good things? No. So do good people deserve bad things? No. Do good people deserve good things? I would think so, but it doesn't always work that way. It's not about what we deserve. That's a hard mindset to get out of. But it's one that keeps us in a broken state of living our lives. We can't be joyful and excited because we think we've done so many things. I've heard so many people that don't believe in God that said, I can't believe in God. You don't know me. You don't know what I've done. You don't know who I really am. But do you realize that's not what matters in the eyes of God for salvation? God says, I died for all of it. All of it. It's not who you are, it's who He is. And He says, if you come to Him as you are, no matter what good or bad is happening in your life, you, as you are, go to God, He will accept you. By the death of His Son, the spilling of His Son's blood, it paid for all of that. So my merits are off the table. My merits are off the table, and I'm thankful to God that they are. So if anyone says to you, you're not worthy, if anyone says to you, you're not good enough, that's not how God measures things. That's not how he blesses. That's not how he takes away. God takes away and gives as he pleases to each and every person, not based on their merits, but on his grace, mercy, goodness, and his sovereign mind. Listen, what profit, in verse 9, has the worker from that in which he labors? I have seen the God-given task with which the sons of men are to be occupied. He has made everything beautiful in its time. That's interesting. We just read all about a time to this, a time to that, a time to this, a time to that, right? Some of it was, in our human eyes, pretty beautiful. I mean, I'm liking the time to heal. I'm liking the time to plant, time to be born, time to laugh, time to dance, time to embrace. I'm loving how this sounds. I love it. But listen carefully here. He's made everything beautiful in its time. Does that mean in its time, death is beautiful? Does that mean in its time, breaking down is beautiful? Does that mean in its time, weeping is beautiful? Does that mean in its time, mourning is beautiful? I mean, I don't understand. Losing. How can losing be beautiful, God? How can it be beautiful? You're not seeing it out of his eyes. You're seeing it out of yours. God makes everything beautiful. I look back now at my divorce, and I'm thankful that it happened the way it happened. I wouldn't be here with you. You would not be a part of my life. Michelle would not be a part of my life. I would not have the friends and family that I have right now in this moment without that. Man, that was ugly. That was depressing. That was horrible. But God has made it beautiful in its time. Right now might be the time for pain. Right now might be the time for mourning. But God has promised you. He's not lying to you, but he has promised you that he will make all of it beautiful. All of it. Even the tears we cry. They're beautiful things because they're healing. They're moments where we realize who he is and just how beautiful he is. And it's just, I've seen this so much in my ministry. I don't often have words for people. I don't have words for people. I just weep with those who weep. I mourn with those who mourn. I rejoice with those that rejoice. That's what we're called to do. It's why we're here. It's why I have this ministry with Michelle and why we're sitting in this room right now. Me standing, I get it. I understand. Some joker out there would have thought it. Some joker in here would have thought it too. But listen, he makes everything beautiful in its time. And now listen to this. Also, so attached to that, God making everything beautiful in his time, listen, he has put eternity in their hearts. You know, we all have, all of us, every human being, believer or non-believer, have an absolute cry for eternal life, for eternity. Because that, you think of like mythical books, the search for the fountain of life is a big story, right? Why are they looking, or the fountain of youth, thank you. I kind of mixed a couple Bible things. I'm always thankful for you. You correct me just the way I need it. I love it. The fountain of youth. No, I would have never known I said it wrong either. The fountain of youth. And they go on this search. And why do they want it? There's a natural cry for eternal life in each and every one of us. None of us want to stop. We don't want to stop. It's unnatural to stop. Death is not natural. That is not what God intends for us, to have an end where we just rot and disappear. When I was seeking God, when I was trying to find what was out there, the night before I got saved, the night before I came to a saving knowledge of Jesus Christ, I laid in my bed and I was crying. I was hyperventilating. I said to God, or I said, whoever, whatever you are, I want to die, but I'll give my life to you if you prove who you are. And I took this moment where I laid down in bed and I held my breath. And as I was holding my breath, I thought to myself, what if this is death? What if this is like, this is it? I'm going to forget my family. I'm going to forget everybody. I'm never going to remember anyone. I'm never going to have my loved ones again. I'm going to be gone forever. That was the cry of a man who was unsaved, knowing in my heart that there's got to be eternal life. I can't not exist. God has put that in us. It's in you. It's in every unbeliever. It's why even scientists who try to deny all of this continue their search, seeking for the answer to what started all this. They want to know about creation. Why? There's a cry in their heart for understanding the eternal. Many scientists